So, and you do too much of that or for too long and it gets really bitter.
Okay.
Yeah. I apparently managed to hit the sweet spot on it. No pun intended, because it has this really sort of acidic bite to it, but you had the heather flavor with this acidic undertone to it that was really interesting. It was good. It was definitely a love it or hate it kind of mead, like some pepper meads. But it was well put together in the end. I don't know how the hell I managed to achieve that, but I had a hell of a lot of friends that basically offered me whatever I wanted for a bottle of it because there wasn't that much of it. So flowers are.
And the moral of that story is never do a small batch, right?
Yeah, well, I was only doing 5-gallon batches. It doesn't take long. That's only like just under 2 cases, so it doesn't take long. Not at all.
Yeah, I've done apple blossom and violets, and you remember that funky smell from the Mirth in a bottle? The 2 places I have had that in my own brews have been the violet and watermelon meads that I've made.
I don't like watermelon in a mead. I like watermelon. I don't like watermelon in things.
That could be great in a short mead.
Yeah, it would.
Watermelon could be great in a short mead. If you took 2.5 gallons of regular mead and put watermelon juice on top of it, threw it in a keg, parked it up overnight, and brought it to the barbecue tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it would be really good.
That would work. Yeah, that's cool. I think I could do that. And I think it also would depend on the watermelon, too. They all have sort of a slightly different flavor profile.
That's true.
Because some of them, there was the big sort of oval ones, the oblong ones that everybody finds at the store. Those are, to me, really don't have that much flavor. My dad used to grow these ones that were like round, completely round, like the size of a soccer ball, and they were really dark on the outside, so like a super dark, almost black green. And the meat of them was super deep red, much darker color than a traditional, store watermelon. And I can't remember what they called them. I think my mom calls them sweeties. But the meat of the watermelon was much more flavorful, was much more intense than what I've seen in your typical store-bought watermelons.
I think I've seen seeds for those, and I can't remember the name of them either.
Yeah, but
But someone was telling me about them. They're smaller, and they're really, really sweet, really, really good, and way better for a small family to try to eat one than
giant ones. Yeah.
One of those giant, humongous ones.
Yeah, they call them personal watermelons sometimes too, because they're big enough for one person to pretty much eat. They're not a whole lot bigger than an extra large cantaloupe. So. Yeah.
So we had a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, we did.
From Dave Furneaux online. Let's see, which one do we want to start with?
The first one.
Okay, he's asking about temperatures. So maybe starting, Bob, what do you do about temperature control when you're brewing?
None.
None?
I don't brew from June till September. Yep, I put it on the basement floor.
Okay.
So no brewing June to September. Put it on the basement floor, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's what I had to do when I was still brewing in the kitchen, but my basement's a better temperature. But what Dave was asking was, is fermenting at an ambient temperature of 60 degrees going to be as good or close enough as a jacketed fermenter set at 60 degrees?
I think that's optimum temperature for me. 60.
Yeah, he's just wondering if it's...
anything between 56 and 65 would be what I would want.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to figure out, though, is whether an ambient temperature, like, a large refrigerator with a temperature control unit, is going to be good enough, or whether a jacketed fermenter set to keep the surface of the vessel at 60 degrees is going to be better.
I actually have that exact situation. Yeah, I have that exact same situation in my house. In the TARDIS, I was using the freezers, which he uses, I think, refrigerators, the same kind of thing, set at 60 degrees.
Units, yeah.
Right. And then, but recently, since I have I got two big AC units, got the whole garage, TARDIS, down to 60 degrees basically, and it worked out great. And I could do a bunch of batches, and not have to be restricted by the thing. So either ambient or fridge, it doesn't matter as long as the must is at 60 degrees, he'll be fine.
Well, what I'm going to say with my engineering background is that it's going to depend on the size of your batch. I don't think it's going to matter much at like a 1 gallon, 5 gallon, maybe even a 15 gallon batch, but I think once you get much bigger than that, it is going to matter because you're looking at how much surface area you've got to radiate any heat that the yeast is producing out of the mead. So you're jacketed. If it's big, if you've got a bigger fermenter than probably 5 gallons, then your jacketed fermenter is probably going to do a better job keeping it at 60. But ambient temperature of 60 is probably going to be good enough for any kind of smaller batch.
Yeah, that's.
I've also found that if you regulate the temperature of the must versus the temperature of the air in your fridge, it works a lot better. So I tend to
stick your thermocouple in the mead instead of in the air in the fridge.
Either in the mead or gaffer tape it to the side of your carboy so it's at least better affected by it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It makes the difference when cold crashing. It makes the difference between changing the temperature of the fridge and losing 10 points and changing the temperature of the fridge and losing only 1 point before it stops. So it's a big change in the gravity and how quickly it reacts.
Yeah, when I have the carboys in the freezer, I have that. I take a piece of styrofoam and duct tape the styrofoam, up against with the probe right up against the glass, and that's the way.
The other thing, if you can, is remove the thermostat in your fridge and short it out so that when your temperature controller says go on, it goes on. It doesn't regulate the air. That makes the world of difference.
Yeah. Well, the temperature controls I use actually they control when the freezer turns on and off. They're the external ones.
Yeah, but the freezer still has its own regulator, which is regulating air.
Yeah. I guess never come. Maybe. Yeah.
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 Dave sounds like he's pretty serious about this because he goes on to say he can either temp control a small room at 60 degrees and continue fermenting in his various glass, HDPE, and peat containers, and he prefers that. Or he can invest in a chilled temp control fermenter or two. The small room, in addition to a minimal investment, also allows me the flexibility of the multiple 1 gallon batches I like to experiment with, fermenting in my various glass, HDPE, and peat containers. Yeah, and
your 1 gallons, you'll be fine at ambient temperature, I think.
Yeah. You don't have the temperature increase with the bigger the batch, the more temperature control you need because they generate their own heat.
And because the volume to surface area ratio is, you've got a smaller surface area per volume, the bigger the container you get so there's less chance for the heat to escape, which is why smaller batches are much easier for temperature control.
Yeah.
I've never really had an issue until I got up to an 18-gallon ferment, and that's when I noticed the big differences.
Yeah, Bob, what's the biggest fermenter that you use?
31 gallon.
Okay.
Nice.
Have you ever tracked the temperature changes in that?
Nope.
Okay.
That's 120
I don't even
liters
take gravity.
for everyone else in the world.
You don't even take gravity? Really?
Nope. Sergio yells at me all the time.
Yeah,
every time I taste something, he goes, "What's gravity? Forget it. You didn't taste it."
Yeah.
Yep. No hydrometer. No writing down. Nothing.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He's violating all the rules. Oh my god, he's a maverick.
Bob's one of these people who's able to actually fly by the seat of his pants and trust his tongue.
And get away with it,
Not everyone can do that. Yeah.
Not everybody. Yeah.
But
For
I do
those of you out
sanitize
there,
like I work in an operating room.
Yeah. For those of you out there that are going, well, if Bob can do it, I can do it. Well, Bob has a pretty good palate and is obviously shepherding his meads every step of the way with his tasting and balance and adjustments and everything. So y'all don't fly by the seat of your pants unless you're going to be giving your mead love and care on a daily basis.
I do
Bob,
big
how long have
starters.
you been making mead?
I'm sorry, Bob.
Good.
Bob, did you also say that your room is as clean as an operating room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sanitary is, that's where. Even my brother works in a hospital, and he goes, "I've never seen somebody wash their hands as much as you do."
Ah,
There you go.
And and believe me, that's the cleanest room in the house.
wow.
I hear you.
I believe you.
And how long have you been making mead, Bob?
I think it started 2010.
Oh, just the same as me then.
2011.
Damn.
Once I got bees and got honey, I had a bucket of honey laying around, and my brother was dating this girl at the time. She comes over and she's like, "Oh, you can make mead." I said, "Oh, okay." So I ended up making cider that year and going to a homebrew club, and I met two guys there who made mead, and one of them came over one day. We made a batch. That batch ended up getting poured down the sink because I didn't like the way it came out. And after that, I made my own, and I felt much better with it.
Huh.
That's because he didn't have a hydrometer.
Yeah, that's right.
No, actually, those were the batches that I did use the hydrometer on. I do have 3 hydrometers in my basement, and I just don't use them.
Okay.
But
I have to admit I only use mine.
Similar. All my base recipes are pretty similar. It's right around between 15 and 18 pounds per batch of honey. Unless I do a Polish-style mead, and then I go up to about 24, 25.
So all of your variations are happening in secondary then?
Some of them. If I want to do a mellow, I'll put, all depending on, what strength I want it, I look at what yeast I want to use. I would be between 15 and 18 pounds of honey, and I might put in, like if I was doing cherry, I might put in 10 pounds of sweet dark cherries on top of 18 pounds of honey and come up for a 5-gallon batch.
Do you have like a favorite yeast you use, or do you switch it up a lot?
Well, I switch it up a lot. It all depends what I'm making. Like D47 has that little bit of apple tone, so if I'm doing cider, I would definitely use the D47 on a cider. If I'm looking for a drier mellow, I'll go to 71B. If I want the big Polish mead style mead, I would use Uva Firm.
Okay. So that 25 pounds, when you make a Polish mead, how many gallons are you making with 25 pounds?
Merrick, I asked Merrick how to do it, and he told me it's 1 part honey, 2 parts water by volume.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
So if you 1 gallon of honey, 2 gallons of water.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of honey. That's got to be strong mead when it's done. Does it come out sweet or dry?
There's definitely sweetness, but it's not a cloying sweetness. It's balanced. The alcohol seems to balance against it.
All right, cool. Gotta try one of those. You gotta go to Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and try a Polish mead.
There you go. We've got Dave Furneaux was sent 3 questions in today. All of them excellent questions, I might add. So thank you, Dave. The next one he has is can the nutrition, and he says, I use Tosna, needed for the addition of fresh must to an in-process fermentation be determined, ballpark, without expensive lab equipment? And he says, for the background, he says, I'm doing a bench scale test of quote-unquote continuous fermentation by removing a percentage of targeted 14% batch when it reaches 10% and replacing the fresh must to reduce it to 8% and then letting it ferment back to 10%. I'm letting the removed portion ferment out to 14 separately. It will take a great deal of trial and error to determine whether to add nutrition with the fresh must and how much to add, and I'm hoping there's a better way to do it.
Holy crap.
I know, right? It's like, God, that's complicated, right?
I don't do any of that.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out myself because a lot of the reason you need the nutrition is when you're building up your yeast.
Yes.
And if you're not taking a lot of the live yeast out when you're taking your 14%, or when you're removing your portion, if you're not taking all the yeast out, I'm not sure how much more it needs to build up.
Yeah.
Now, was it Dave was on about his. He just got a new piece of equipment, and I think it found out the